We begin with invocation. This is to seek the blessings of our teachers, our previous acharyas, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Panchatattva, and Shri Shri Radha Madhava. Om Jnanatirminandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And at the back, there are some very famous persons who, I guess, attest the power and the potency of the Bhagavad Gita. So first is Henry David Thoreau, a very famous poet and literature. He says, "In the morning, I bathe my intellect in the stupendous and cosmogonal philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, in comparison with which our modern world and its literature seem puny and trivial." Ralph Waldo Emerson says, "I owed a magnificent day to the Bhagavad Gita. It was the first of books. It was as if an empire spoke to us, nothing small or unworthy, but large, serene, consistent, the voice of an old intelligence which in another age and climate had pondered and thus disposed of the same questions which exercise us." And finally, this is Mohandas K. Gandhi. "When doubts haunt me, when disappointments stare me in the face, and I do not see one ray of hope on the horizon, I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me. And I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. Those who meditate on the Gita will derive fresh joy and new meanings from it every day." So I was introduced as a storyteller, so I'm going to tell you about 4 stories today. Otherwise, we might make Mohan Leela alive. So he is not allowed to do so. When devotees say, it has to become truth. So we have to make it possible. So we'll go to the beginning of creation. Lord Brahma has created this universe upon the inspiration of his source, Lord Vishnu. And just as the universe appeared, the Vedic literature also appeared simultaneously. So if you ever hear any shloka about Lord Brahma, or any picture of Lord Brahma, commonly he is wrongly depicted as an old man. Not old man, he's about 50 years old. And you'll see a picture of Lord Brahma with a kamandalu, with a water pot in his hand. And in one hand are the 4 Vedas. So he is given the first responsibility to bring the Vedic literature from the spiritual world, from Vaikuntha, down to this universe. And the reference to you, if you're a student of the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you open the book, the very first verse says, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. That the Supreme Lord spoke or revealed all of the Vedic literature in the heart of Lord Brahma. Tene Brahma. Brahma means the supreme absolute truth, the Vedic knowledge. Hridaye, in the heart of Adi Kavaye, of Adi Kavi, that is Lord Brahma. So that idea of Lord Brahma holding the Vedas is, he is responsible to now propagate it into the entire universe. So when this universe was created, the Vedas had manifest. Simultaneously, two fellows also showed up. Their names were Madhu and Kaitava. And just as Vedic knowledge has the opportunity to be manifested in the world, Madhu and Kaitava represent two qualities. Madhu represents doubts, and Kaitava represents cheating on the name of religion. Now, in our experience, do we find people who cheat on the name of religion? Cheat in the name of religion? Left, right, and center. Right? So, Kaitava. And Madhu is the guy who puts doubts in our minds about scripture. Is it really true? Did this really happen? And what is one word that I hate like anything, but it is commonly used to describe our Vedic literature? We call it works of mythology. This is the worst name we can give to Bhagavad Gita or anything. We use it commonly because that's what the word mythology is derived from the word myth. Myth means it doesn't exist. Ology is the science of it. Mythology is the great science of something that doesn't exist. And we speak about it to others. Oh, Hindu mythology. Oh, please, don't say that if you can. These are Vedic scriptures or Vedas. So Madhu and Kaitava were also created because that is how the universe will be. There will be a tussle between truth and falsity. So Madhu and Kaitava stole the Vedas from Lord Brahma. And so the Supreme Lord had to immediately appear in the form of Hayagriva. Is he on the altar? For many, many years, Lakshmi Hayagriva is inside the altar. Dhananjay Pandit Prabhu has been worshipping, and it is said that without Lord Hayagriva on the tip of anyone's tongue, Vedic knowledge cannot come out of their mouth or it cannot go into their ears. So Hayagriva is the deity or the Lord of knowledge. So Hayagriva appeared and he took care of Madhu and Kaitava. He sent them away, he killed them, and brought the Vedas back and gave it to Lord Brahma for safekeeping and safe propagation. We'll come down in history. We'll come to Kali Yuga. And in Kali Yuga, this is about 900 or 1000 BC. A little later than that. During Ramanujacharya's time, so about 1000 years ago. Ramanujacharya took on the responsibility of writing Vaishnava commentary to dispel the misunderstanding or the monistic theory. One of monistic theory means we are all God, all is one. You heard that one, right? All is one. After all, it's all one. That's not complete philosophy. So Ramanujacharya took the responsibility of dispelling it. So he was working on a very special work called Sri Bhashya. And to complete the Sri Bhashya, he needed a book, okay, for reference. And that book was not available anywhere in the country. So just for, I guess, geographical reference, Ramanujacharya was in Srirangam. Srirangam is in now Tamil Nadu, on an island on the Kaveri river. Right? And after asking and finding out, no email text, there was no Google at the time, just by asking, and information flowed very slowly. But after a long time, he came to know there is only one book available, not even copies, one book in Kashmir, in a particular Saraswati temple. So Ramanujacharya with his disciple Kuresha began walking from Srirangam to Kashmir to get that book. So they walked. You can imagine how long it would have taken. And when they reached that Saraswati temple was congregated by, protected by, and maintained by the Mayavadis, the monists. And Ramanujacharya wanted that very book that would defeat their philosophy. So naturally, you can imagine, they didn't say, yeah, sure, take it. They didn't say, make a photocopy. They said, no, we cannot give you the book. So he begged, he requested, something, he tried. I said, no. So one evening, Saraswati Devi appeared in the dream of that head pujari, the head scholar of that temple, that please give this book to Ramanujacharya. So he said, oh wow, Saraswati Devi herself is saying, so I should do it. So he told all of his other fellow leaders, ministers, that we need to give this book because Saraswati Devi said. They said, no, you're just speaking like this. We will not give. By the time the word already got to Ramanujacharya that he will get the book next day morning at Mangalarti. As soon as the temple opens, he will get the book. But during the night, these insecure leaders who did not want Ramanujacharya to get the book stole the book from Saraswati Devi's altar and burned it. So one book that was only available, one copy. It's not like you go back to Amazon and say repeat order. It was gone. And Ramanujacharya, when they opened the door of the temple next morning, expected to see the book there. It was not there. And they all said, we don't know what happened. So Ramanujacharya began to cry because it is very important to propagate proper knowledge about Krishna. So they closed the temple doors, and Ramanujacharya, in his mind, Saraswati Devi inspired and said, ask them to open the temple door, the book is there. So he asked him, please open the door. And they opened the door. And he said, Saraswati Devi says the book is here. So they're like, where's the book? There's no book. She had told him in that inspiration, last night these people were going to burn the book. I hid it in my hair. Asked them to look behind me and it's there. So he told them, please look behind the deity. And lo and behold, that book was there. So now in public they cannot say, we will not give you, so hesitatingly they gave because Saraswati Devi said, give. Ramanujacharya took the book and told his disciple Kuresha, forget about lunch, forget breakfast, turn around and walk back as fast as we can to Srirangam because these guys will pursue us. Once we leave the temple and city, they will, because I'm from Bombay, so we have a favorite word called supari. They will give a supari to the thugs to kill us, run. So they were fleeing back to Srinagar. And it takes a while to get there. So every night they would hide in a cave. Next morning they would get up, they would walk all day. So almost, let's say 15 days or something passed by. And on the 15th day, these thugs showed up and they threatened Ramanujacharya and Kuresha with knives and daggers that they would kill him, and forcibly took that book away. Ramanujacharya was very disappointed. But his disciple Kuresha told him, Guru Maharaj, don't worry. I have committed the entire book to memory. Because Kuresha was a very special personality. He had photographic memory. He had the ability that if he read it once, it was enough to remember. There are people like that even now. Very rare of the so many billion, hardly one or two, but that is possible. So Ramanujacharya asked him, we were walking together all day, when did you read the book? He said, at night when you were sleeping, I was reading the book. So I remember the whole book, I will relay it back. So quickly they reached Sri Rangam. Ramanujacharya had people transcribe the whole book, and his commentary, Shibhashya, became a fantastic hit. Then we'll come a little later. Three personalities who were disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Their names were Srinivasa Acharya, Shyamananda Pandit, and Narottam Das. And Narottam Das was the leader of this group. And they, from Vrindavan, had a bullock cart full of the writings of the Goswamis of Vrindavan, who were followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They were taking these books from Vrindavan towards Navadvip, which is near Kolkata, about 4 hours away from Kolkata, an area called Navadvip. They were bringing it there, the whole cart, with copies of those books to be able to propagate from there the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they're very special because all other acharyas spoke about Lord Narayana, spoke about Krishna in Dwaraka and Mathura, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the secret of the love of the Vraja Vadhus, the gopis and Krishna. Now, that is not spoken openly, right? Just as in anyone's life, people will share stuff about themselves, especially posting it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, but the very private things that they have with their spouse is not meant for anyone. So these very careful, loving pastimes between Krishna and the gopis, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened the door for commoners like us, whose hair becomes grey, teeth fall, we can hardly understand anything. And who are we? We are probably, I don't say we like you, persons like me are followers of Madhu and Kaitava. For such people like us, the whole Krishna Rasa Leela, Krishna in Vrindavan, the secrets of Krishna's interactions with all the gopis, all the boys of Vrindavan, his interactions with Yashoda. What is our qualification to understand? Yet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened the door so that anybody could have access to it. So these were those books. So when they were bringing this bullock cart through the forest, one afternoon, because they were tired, they were resting, there was an ambush by some dacoits. And those dacoits, I can't say gunpoint, at knife point, took away that entire cart of books. Narottam Das was very, very sad. So he sent Srinivasa Acharya in one direction to search for the books. He sent Shyamananda in another direction, and he himself went into the kingdom, didn't know what to do, thinking he will complain or find if he can find those books. He happened to meet somebody with whom he was conversing, and he was very impressed. And he said, please come, I want you to take darshan of the king. So when he came to the king's court, the king asked him some questions. Great kings would usually test some scholar by asking them, please say something on this topic, on that topic, and they would say, oh, if you've spoken very well, oh yes, you are a proper scholar. So when he asked Narottam Das questions, the way Narottam Das answered, the king started crying, saying, I've never heard such beautiful expression, such beautiful explanation of these sacred literature. Got down from his throne, came running to Narottam Das, touched his feet and told him, please accept me as your disciple. His name was King Birambir. Birambir means Veeron ke veer, the greatest of the great. That's what it means. He came running down to Narottam Das and said, please accept me as your disciple. So Narottam Das said, right now my mind is very disturbed. This great treasure of the Goswamis that wrote prolifically from morning till night without sleeping, without eating, those books have been stolen. So he asked, please give me some description. So he said a description of a bullock cart full of books, this way, that way. He said, those were my thugs. Those were my people who unknowingly stole from you and gave the whole cart of books back. We come further in history. We're coming closer to our times. In somewhere between 1880 and 1920, somewhere between that time, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If you look at the altar of the lower level, there is Srila Prabhupada sitting, and right next to him is the picture of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, Srila Prabhupada's guru. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta was such a scholar that by age 5 or 7, he could recite the entire Bhagavad Gita, which is a fantastic accomplishment. There are many children who can recite, but not clearly, but he could. But more importantly, you ask him about any verse in the Bhagavad Gita and he could speak for 30 minutes clearly by age 5 or 7. By age 19, he had published a book on astronomy called Surya Siddhanta, that even the great scholars in India, it took 50 of them to sit together to figure out what he had said. It was so intricate and so scholarly. Usually when you write a scholarly journal, you send it to 3 other scholars for scholarly review. 50 of them reviewed and said, wow, this is a young kid. He worked as a librarian in one of the local king's palace. And they asked him, why did you take that job? Oh, because the king has a very big library. I'm interested in the books actually, not really what the king does. And in a short span, he committed to memory the entire library. He could tell you any book on which shelf, what the pages are, what the contents are, which page has what item written on it. Not just the titles, but the contents. And this Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur opened many wonderful temples throughout India. And to show the world how important these scriptures are, brought a printing press and kept it next to the altar, which is unconventional. No one puts a printing press in your temple room. He did. And it was to show everyone that as worshipable Krishna is this printing press, because it is printing the words of Krishna. Because the words of Krishna and Krishna are not different. In fact, it is better to access the word of Krishna than Krishna himself. This is why. Because if Krishna came in front of us, we would not recognize him. But this is more accessible. We don't have the qualification that Krishna has to reveal himself to us. There's no need. But this comes to us regardless of what our qualification is. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur started printing these books, which is using modern technology of that time to make books available. Otherwise, remember Ramanujacharya's situation, one book and it was burnt, so no access. So then, Bhaktisiddhanta would tell that if required, I would sell every piece of marble in the temple and buy books just for the propagation of it. Why this knowledge is important? Why did Ramanujacharya walk from South India all the way to Kashmir and back? For propagation of Vedic knowledge. Why does every great Acharya travel everywhere, speak everywhere? Not because they like a crowd, it's because it's to help the crowd. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur made the propagation of Vedic knowledge a prime priority in his outreach. And he called the books Brihad Mridanga. Brihad means very big. So we have a Mridanga, Nirantara Prabhu was playing. So when someone plays a Mridanga, everyone in the vicinity can hear. When you park your car and you're coming out, you can hear the Mridanga. You can hear the Kartal. But when you go to Route 59 and McDowell, you may not hear the Mridanga. But he said, these are the Mridangas that can be heard throughout the world because this is sound. Shabda, recorded in writing, is no different than sound. Think of it as sound that is beyond the human audible range. What is the human audible range? 22 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Does sound exist below that frequency? Yes. Does sound exist above that frequency? Yes. Can we hear it? No, but it exists. Right? So like that, this is that sound in one sense. We may not hear it, but it is speaking to us when we allow it to. When we tune into that frequency, it allows us to hear, it allows the book to speak to us. So true to his teachings, then Srila Prabhupada took that mandate of distributing Vedic literature. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote prolifically in Bengali and English. Prabhupada took that, wrote his commentary on the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and by Prabhupada's grace, he put an emphasis on the distribution of Vedic literature to such a degree that more than 500 million Bhagavad Gitas have been distributed in the last 40 some years. My stats may be a little lower, but maybe higher than this. The Bhagavad Gita is available in more than 40 languages around the world. When most Indian people are provided a Bhagavad Gita, they say, I have it. I know it. Which is wonderful. But there are persons who are from the Middle East, from China, Korea, Africa, Siberia, what other places are Latin America. When they get something like this, it is so transformational in their life that I have never heard anything like this. I have never come across such a complete word that tells me how to live my life. It is how astounding it is of how one person's voice has traveled around the world. And Prabhupada would translate these books at night, between midnight and 4 a.m. every day. And mind you, his age was about 74, 75, till he was about 81. Every night, My father passed away a few years ago. Great person. I have great regard and love for my father. But by the time he was 80, or 77, 80, he wasn't doing much. Although a great scholar, a scientist, a homeopath, he's such a genius that I don't think I've ever met a genius of that kind. His body just was not able, that he could put out as much as he did when he was younger. So that's usually a reference point for me. When I look at Srila Prabhupada's life, at such age with kidney failed, recovered from 3 heart attacks, was translating these books at night. Why? Because during the day he was busy traveling, talking, teaching, meeting great personalities. And Prabhupada said, one day there may not be any temple. One day there may not be any devotees near you. But there will always be His book. There will always be. And he said, you don't need, don't take this so literally that is what we will do. He said, even if you don't read the whole book, it's okay. If you don't read the whole chapter, it's okay. If you read one page, it has enough potency to change your life. So we don't say, okay, one is enough for me. Oh, good. Hey, nothing happened, mythology. Because we treat it as mythology, nothing happens to us. So Prabhupada put this whole emphasis on study. And to know. Because if we don't know what life is meant for, what is the meaning, why we do certain things, I'll say a show of hands. As we were growing up, our parents did a lot of rituals and festivals and observed certain things. On this day, we're supposed to do like this. On that day, we're supposed to do like this. How many of us went through such? Sure, most of us. And how many of us asked, why are we doing this? Others didn't ask. Oh my gosh, your crowd is really. For those foolish people who asked, the answer was, this is how we do it, shut up and follow. Why we did, no one knew. So, there's a beautiful story, it's one of my favorite stories. And it has different versions, so I'll give you the version that I like. One day, a man, he was a washerman by profession, dhobi. And he was walking down the street, head was clean shaven, and he was crying. So he met his friend, who was a royal cook, who used to cook for the king. So this guy asked the washerman, why are you crying? So the washerman said, don't you know, today Sunanda Gandharva died. He said, oh, thank you for telling me. He ran home. He also shaved his head, took a bath, and went to his job. So the king's servant who comes to take the plate saw him and said, why are you shaved? He said, it's a very sad day. Sunanda Gandharva died. Oh, thank you for telling me. He quickly ran, took a bath, shaved his head. Sorry, what? Other one. Shaved his head, took a bath. And took the plate to the king. So the king saw him and said, okay, why did you shave your head? My Majesty, it's a very sad day. Today Sunanda Gandharva died. The king said, no one told me. Call the royal barber quickly. So the royal barber came quickly and the king sat down and the guy was sharpening his knife and the queen walked by. And the queen said, what is this? What are you doing? So the king said, my dear queen, I am very sorry to share this news with you. Today Sunanda Gandharva died. What did the queen say? So she asked, who is Sunanda Gandharva? The king said, I don't know. Hey, call the royal my servant. Hey, who is Sunanda Gandharva? My majesty, I don't know. The cook said, call the cook here. The cook came shivering. Hey, who's Sunanda Gandharva? Oh, I don't know. The washerman said. So they called the washerman. And he stood in front of the king, all looking at him and said, hey, who is Sunanda Gandharva? He said, Majesty, my donkey. And Gandharva, because he used to sing very sweetly. So I used to call him Sunanda Gandharva. So without asking why, we were all doing Sunanda Gandharva. We used to do like this. Then we come to America, in our house also we do Diwali or something like this. Why? This is how my parents used to do. Don't ask why not, what is the purpose of this, what is the reason. So in one sense, it's the Sunanda Gandharva tradition. Okay. So to break that, like the Queen asked, Prabhupada gave us so we can ask ourselves, why? Why are we doing what we're doing? What is the purpose? What is the purpose? There was one sannyasi leader of another Vaishnava tradition. I don't want to tell you the name, but very, very popular. One of his disciples became a very close friend of, Prabhupada's followers. And he went and told his guru, spiritual master, that this such and such ISKCON devotee is a very close friend of mine. So that sannyasi said, keep that friendship. Because there is one thing they have learned from Prabhupada, is that they have an answer for every question that you can put to them. There is no question that they will say, I don't know. Not that they will lie. What it means is, we may not know right now, but we can find you the answer in Prabhupada's books. That's what it means. It's a Prabhupada wrote in such a way for them that pretty much every question has been answered. And Prabhupada wrote prolifically, not just one Bhagavad Gita. This is just a sampling here. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and 60 other books for one purpose. That after his time, we can still hear and connect with such a great Acharya. So the common connection for all the stories that I have narrated to you is that every Acharya, starting from Lord Brahma, valued this Vedic literature very, very much. And the value was such that even the Lord will appear simply to protect the Vedic knowledge. And that is protected because that is how Krishna says, Dharma Sansthapanarthaya. Dharma cannot be established in any other way except through Dharma. There was a great poet in history of India called Kalidas. Kalidas wrote great poems like Kumara Sambhava, Raghuvamsha, etc. In fact, Prabhupada said that in the whole history of mankind, there is one poet that stands on top of that list, and that is Kalidas. And Kalidas is accredited with the gift of giving the best metaphors and similes. So, for example, we say Krishna is as dark and beautiful as that cloud that is laden with rain. Megha Shyama or Shyama Sundara. So that Kalidas gave a very beautiful example to teach us the meaning of a very famous aphorism in Sanskrit. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. You heard this? dharma rakshati. The dharma will protect someone who rakshitaha, protects dharma. So if you protect dharma, dharma will protect you. Now, it sounds wonderful, but we need a picture. We need an example to know how that is valuable to us. So Kalidas said that dharma is like a walking stick. So when you hold the walking stick and walk, it protects you from slipping, from falling and hurting yourself. But if the stick is resting against that wall and you have not held it, then will it protect you from slipping down? No. You can say, Dharma is in my house. Dharma is in my house. Only when you hold it can it protect you. Otherwise, Dharma is in the house, but all adharma is also happening in life. Or not adharma, but at least ignorance. They don't know what to do in life. Therefore, this quote by Gandhi, that whenever I don't see any ray of hope on the horizon, I turn to the Bhagavad Gita and find a verse for comfort. So all these stories are connected, that for the value of one book, the value of one shloka, the value of one teaching is so sacredly guarded and given. And usually it's given to someone who values it as well. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, forget whose value, who can understand or not. Let's just give it to everyone. And that's what Prabhupada did. So it's available, it's accessible, it's in English, easy English. When I was growing up, I read the Bhagavad Gita by some other author, that at the end of reading it, my conclusion was, must be a very nice book, must be good teachings, very profound, because I didn't understand one word. Because in Hindi we say, samajh nahi aaya matlab acha ho. Then what's the point if you can't understand it? So Prabhupada, this in the library, if you go to Barnes and Noble, there are book series called Accounting for Idiots, Computer Science for Idiots, Dummies. Same. At least the Bhagavad Gita was for an idiot for me, so for dummies. So Prabhupada wrote for the great scholars of the world in such a way that even the dummies can understand it. However, I'll tell you a secret. I have a master's degree in America, and I used to try reading it. And when I used to read it, I couldn't understand it. It's not that the English is difficult, very straightforward English. It's not even complicated English. There's not one complicated word in the whole of Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. He wrote it for a very, pedestrian audience. But I didn't understand it. Because of two things. One, I did not open the book because I wanted to really learn. I opened the book because I wanted to find out how many mistakes he has made. That was my first reason to pick up Prabhupada's book. Because I was reading some other Swamiji's book. That also I didn't understand. But because in my childhood I had some connection with it, I was like, this must be right, this guy must be right. And I used to study this Bhagavad Gita on the train. Somehow Krishna arranged that my job was usually about an hour away. So I should travel by train, and every morning I would have two Bhagavad Gitas. One is this Swamiji's, and one is this Swamiji's. And I would read this verse on this one, turn to Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita with, let's see what mistakes I made. Took 1 month. In 1 month, I put this book away. Because this spoke to me. They spoke to me in a way that made sense to me. And I'll tell you also where those two instances are. There are three things in this book that changed my life for me. The first is, before I tell you the three things, I said there are two reasons why. One, I opened it with, let me see where the mistakes are. That was the first one. And second, I was not reading it with other devotees. Only when I started reading with other devotees, in a Bhakti Vriksha or a whatever phone reading that others do, some format in which other devotees were there, then it started making sense to me. Because that is the way. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, I am speaking to you because bhaktosi me sakha chaiti. You are my friend and devotee. So these two are required. One, I have a friendly attitude, and I am with the devotee. To understand this. Then simple sentences that otherwise are very easy to understand started becoming more comprehensible for me. So that's one. So the three things that transformed me, because before that I had read about 4 Bhagavad Gitas. And I thought, that was good. But there were certain things that never were resolved for me. So if you have the time, I would beg you, take the time. It would take you about half hour to read the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? This introduction is actually a lecture Srila Prabhupada gave that has been transcribed as the introduction. This introduction is sufficient. It completely blew my mind of how Prabhupada brought and condensed and distilled the entire complicated Vedic truths in some easy manner. Really amazing for me. It was really transformational. That was one. Second, in the Bhagavad Gita, there are 2 instances where Krishna speaks something that is not easily comprehensible. First is in chapter 9. Okay? So chapter 9 is right in the middle of the book. So whatever is secretive, you always hide somewhere in the middle of something. Right? If you have some cash, you hide in the middle of the clothes. Yeah, sure. Oh, sorry, did I let out someone's secret? You have some secret word, you will put it in the middle of some gibberish so that people don't understand. So right in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, Krishna starts with, I am in everything, everything is in me, but I am not in anything. And for years and years and years, I tried to understand what that meant. I even asked big sannyasis from the books that I was reading, what does it mean? I traveled all the way to California all by myself just to attend their 1 week of retreat on 9th chapter, waiting when they will speak about that verse. Asked them, what does it mean? And the answer I got was, just as when a small child is not eating food, the mother wants the child to eat, so she says, you see there is a crow sitting there? And the child looks and imagines there is a crow, but there is no crow. What's the answer? In fact, I thought Krishna's words were confusing. This Swamiji confused me even more. But the purport of it is this monistic Mayavad philosophy that this creation is an imagination. That's the meaning. It's an imagination. It actually doesn't exist. But you think it exists. The only place where this helps is when we know that our wife is also imagination. We think she exists, actually she doesn't. Or the husband. We think the husband exists, but oh God, I'm so glad to know it doesn't exist. Other than that, that philosophy is no meaning. So I was so confused. Prabhupada solved that problem for me. You read that 2 verses, he explains. Because he is the source of everything. He directly and indirectly is involved in every aspect of creation, yet he maintains his own individuality as the supreme person. How you go? So simple. It blew my mind. I was like, what? It took me so many years for something so simple to be said. Fast forward, my favorite chapter since I was a 5-year-old boy, chapter 15. I knew the whole chapter by heart. I could recite it anytime. I didn't know one word about it. When I grew up a little bit, I wanted to know. So this chapter starts with, oh my dear Arjuna, there is a tree that is upside down, that has roots above, branches here and leaves below. Urdhvamulam adhashakha. What? Ashwatham prahuravya. Prahur. The word prahu means it is said. It is said means what the great people are saying. Where is this tree? Where is this tree? So many people I ask, where is this tree? No, it is to say, it is to give an example. Example has to have some meaning. Srila Prabhupada writes to us. Krishna is explaining that a tree, when there is a surface of a body of water, that tree that is standing upright reflects upside down. That means this material world, through our senses and disturbed mind, we see a perverted reflection of the spiritual world in this material world. Wow! Unbelievable! So easy. So this is where these things become so valuable. These are the keys to open those wonderful doors that human life is meant to solve that adventure or mystery. So books are the basis. As Prabhupada said, that our whole mission of propagating this Vedic knowledge in the world stands on 4 main principles. First, books are the basis, because without proper knowledge, we will only gather some of sentimental people. Oh yes, very nice, very nice. No understanding all Sunanda Gandharva methods. So books, they are necessary, because what we say has to be substantiated by the Vedic knowledge. Otherwise anybody can say anything, they can create their own philosophy. So books are the basis. Second, therefore, purity is the force. Purity is the force. The Prophet said, what you say should be what you do behind closed doors. Lot of people can say, cannot do, won't do. So this shloka, I don't have time today, but there is a shloka in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Yad yad acharati shrestha tad tad evetaro jana. That the great persons, however they behave, other people will follow. Sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvarta. So whatever then they say, people will follow. So there is a secret in that verse. The first 2 lines says yad yad acharati. Okay? And in the third line he says yad pramanam kurute. So in the first line, yad is used twice. And yad in the third line is used once. So for behavior, yad is twice. For talking, yad is once. That means showing an example is twice more important than speaking it. So there is a great Catholic saint by the name Saint Francis, and he said, preach all day, the whole day, just preach, and when necessary, speak a few words. So purity is the force. Without being pure, whatever we say or do has no meaning. Third, Someone said preaching. Preaching is the essence. Preaching is the essence means living the teachings is automatically visible for everyone, and by that visibility, others become inspired. Anyone of us watched any of the latest movies? Come on, don't be shy. You liked it? Will you tell your friends, I liked it? You should also see it. Yes? Or you went movies? No, I should say. Sorry. You got a nice deal at a store because some sale was going on. Come on. You will tell others, hey, I got it at a sale. You should also get. That is called preaching. Yes. You benefited. You want someone else to benefit. That's called preaching. So preaching is the essence. And the final? Utility is the principle. Thank you. That means if you don't know how to use it in your own life, then this is no better than a paperweight. You should know, not you, we should know how to use this in our life. Tomorrow, when our manager, which means wife or husband, you understood, says something to us, we are in some issue, some argument, some distress, some challenge in life, we say, Google, how to manage my managers? That's not the answer. Here it is said, whenever I see no ray of hope. This is the sutra for married people. When you say no hope, I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me. Because my husband never comforts me. Never. He just doesn't understand me. My wife just doesn't understand me. Yes, Bhagavad Gita. I immediately begin to smile. In the midst of overwhelming sorrow. He was a married man, yes? So I realized. Anyway, jokes aside, utility is the principle. We want to live. In fact, we want to be Arjuna's fighting this battle for life. So we need the shelter of Bhagavad Gita. So without books, Prabhupada wrote, we have no shelter on over our head, no ground to stand on. Okay? So I hope you are inspired. I hope you will take up to studying Prabhupada's books. I hope you will somehow make it a habit to even spend 5 minutes with someone together every day to read it and be benefited. I will be very, very grateful and honored if even one of us does it. My time is up. Can I take 1 minute or so for Q&A? Sorry, I just noticed it's 6:30. Any comments, questions, concerns, objections? Objections?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. I really relate to what you said
About the marriage?
So, I might not be the example of what Prabhupada's teachings are, but I also feel compelled to tell others about
Correct.
it.
So, we may not be an example the way we think an example should be. But for someone else who has no access, we are a great example. We are an example of transformation. My understanding in life, this is personally for me, that if I can change, everyone else is very easy. I was at the bottom of the barrel. This is not autobiography. If I someday write it, don't read it. This is the bottom of the barrel. But if it can help me, why can't it help others? Others are always better than me. It can help them. So the expectation is not that I should be this squeaky clean, shining example. The example is that I was living a life that was confused. Now at least I know where to go. That's a betterment, right? So then that's great. Okay? Thank you. Yes, you always have to have, so please. Say it.
I was wondering, Prabhupada gave so many books, right? And I feel it is good enough.
Yeah.
Why do we have to write again commentaries on Prabhupada books? More books.
So we just started reading Ramayana. One of the great 16th century poet was asked, there are so many commentaries on Ramayana, why are you writing again? And his answer was, everybody feels hungry every day. They are eating. And because they are eating, their hunger is satisfied, doesn't mean my hunger is satisfied. I have to eat too. So, commenting on what is already commented is satisfying for me and satisfying for others, because Nava Nava Rasa Dhamni Rantum Asit. Yamunacharya said, right? Yadavadi Mama Krishna Padar Vinde. Prabhupada quotes in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Yamunacharya's quote. Yadavadi Mama Cheta Krishna Padar Vinde. Tadavadi Nava Nava Rasa Dham Rantum Asit. That as and as my mind is going towards the lotus feet of Krishna, I am experiencing Nava Nava Rasas. So the word Nava Nava has two meanings. Nava means new. Nava also means 9. So Nava Nava Rasa means new and new realizations. Nava Nava means new realizations about the 9 rasas about Krishna. Nava Nava Rasa Dham. So it's an ocean. How much can one write? One can always keep writing. And the more we write, the more we discuss, the more tasteful it is. So nothing wrong. Okay? Nava Nava Rasa. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Nityananda Prabhu. So happy to have you here after such a long interval. Please give a big hand. Hope you come back more frequently. Thank you again. Appreciate that so much. Today's Sunday feast is sponsored by Simha Kandala and family. They are seeking Krishna's blessings. Is the family here who's sponsoring the Sunday feast? No? Okay, Ramdas Prabhu has got the prasadam and we will send it to the family. And our Abhay, who is the coordinator for Sunday feast, is not here for now. And so I think Ramdas is the contact, or you can contact Shyam Prabhu if anyone is interested in sponsoring Sunday feast in the coming weeks. Appreciate your presence here. Anyway, please stand after me so that this family who has sponsored Sunday feast, they have their spiritual journey towards Krishna's lotus feet progressing very nicely. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I think we do have some announcements regarding Krishna Janmashtami and anything else. Only Janmashtami. Okay, so this great Soka Krishna Prabhu will be speaking to you.
Thank you, everybody. Just wanting to let you know that we are going to be celebrating Krishna Janmashtami on 23rd of August and 24th of August. But just some logistics and clarifications. We are going to have the midnight Aarti on 23rd of August here in the temple. And we have 3 requests of each and every one of you. First, please come and attend. Please let your friends know. And please let your extended family know that we would look for their presence here, and then we have some sponsorship opportunities. If you would like, when you step out, we do have the Colors program, which we use the funds to run the temple throughout the year. There are just 2 occasions that we ask you this. One is this, and one is Lord Purnima. So the opportunity of the Kalash is, it works this way that the Kalash is for an Abhishek when the Abhishek is performed, you take the holy water deck, the Abhishek Charanamrit deck in that, and as a donation, we request that you write us a check for $500. We also have the midnight arti, which I just mentioned, and that is for $251, and we have very limited quantities, so please see Sham Prabhu, please see outside, please let me know, please let anybody know. Prabhupada Mataji is there. Anybody that you see from the temple, please let us know so that we can reserve the opportunity. And we would like volunteers to help us through this. We have a couple of hundred volunteers that are helping us now, and we look forward to seeing you all and your extended family. Thank you very much. Please take your darshan blessing.